Will the Trump rally be trumped by OPEC and the Italian referendum? We'll look at the data flow, which culminates in economic growth numbers next week, and we'll look at some stocks in the news. And what about Vocus? Trashed yesterday. I'm Peter Switzer.
I'm Paul Rickard.
And we're mad about money. All right, Paul. The Trump rally's been fantastic. It's still got a bit of steam.
Look, US up marginally again last night, so
Yeah.
it's still going. I mean, you'd think they'd be a little more concerned about the referendum, I should say, in Italy, and maybe oil.
With emphasis on dumb.
Yeah, but look, OPEC's probably old. Yesterday's story, we'll probably get no agreement or we'll get some noise tonight, I guess, and then oil will continue.
Yeah. As long as oil doesn't slump, I think we're okay. It could gravitate around the 40s. We'd like to see again in the 50s, so on an agreement. But basically, getting OPEC to agree is one step, but then getting OPEC to agree with, say, Russia and other non-OPEC nations, pretty hard ask, really, isn't it?
Pretty hard ask. I mean, I would have thought the Italian referendum would have more impact, but and I expected the market there to pull back. But maybe the US has just got its own bit of momentum, and it's going to get jobs numbers out later this week, and believes in its own data.
Americans cool to be saying, Italy? What's Italy?
Well, I think they know where Italy is.
Little Italy in New York. We know there's an Italy there.
I think they did. Look, they do know where Italy is. I mean, but we'll give them that much. But,
okay.
But look, that's important. I mean, your view on that, is it really that important?
I think it could be. I think if the Prime Minister, Matteo Renzi, does not resign, that would be a good thing. And he kind of is half and half, isn't he? But if he resigns and they call a new election, the question mark will be: is it Beppe Grillo? Will he? Grillo? I don't know how
You've obviously been practicing this morning.
Will the comedian who runs the 5-star movement will he end up winning the election? And he would be against the European Union, and that I think would spook stock markets.
Yeah, well, let's cross that bridge if we need to. But notwithstanding all the polls pointing to a loss on the referendum, the market hasn't really been reacting much. So maybe question mark whether we're making a bigger deal of this than it actually is. But
well, let's hope that's the case. Now, let's have a look at the data flow. Really important numbers tomorrow are the CapEx, they call them. It's capital expenditure or business investment. We need to see this going up, don't we, Paul?
Well, we do. I mean, of course, I could be quite rude. They're only of interest to people like you, Peter, who believe in boring economics. I mean, I couldn't work out last week how the ABS could report construction spending down, right? You look at the crane, the Sydney, the Melbourne, the Brisbane skylines. There are cranes everywhere. The crane index has never been busier. But okay, sure, maybe we're not building LNG or something. But
I think the negative from the mining sector is offsetting the positive from the non-mining sector.
So where it's important, I think, is two things. I mean, you're saying that maybe growth expectations get hosed down a little bit, and secondly, it'll impact the government's MyEFO, and that's probably when that comes out.
There are normal people watching this. What is MyEFO?
I'll figure.
Mid-year economic financial outlook.
Okay, so you tell me. You're the economist. Why should I be worried about all these figures?
Well, look, I think we get the economic growth number, and we've been growing over 3%, which has been a fantastic achievement. There are some economists who think that this number could be a little bit on the disappointing side, so we could drop back into the 2s. Now that would undermine confidence, I think, a bit. It could actually bring the dollar down a tiny bit, because people would say maybe those rate cuts that some economists have been predicting could work out. But we had the OECD this week say, get ready, Australia, you might see an interest rate rise next year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any chance for a rate cut, Peter. I can't see us doing that when the US is going up, but I'm not sure I'm quite in the OECD camp. I mean, do you really think the RBA is ready to lift rates next year?
No, I don't. It would only be if next week the number was, say, 3.5%.
Right. Okay, so that's irrelevant.
And inflation starts kicking up, then they would do it maybe on Cup Day.
Maybe on Cup Day. Well, let's talk about Cup Day in a year's time.
Yeah.
Almost, although it had a big win this year, so bring on that Cup Day.
Don't bring it up again. All right, let's talk about wins. If you'd gone long Vocus after communications, after a big dumping a few weeks ago, who would have expected another big dumping yesterday?
Big dumping again yesterday, and again, look, just the impact again you saw on TPG, that was off about 7%. So these second-tier telcos have had a pretty rough trot, but look,
they were stars before.
They were stars. They've all got acquisition indigestion. This is what happens when companies keep buying others. It takes a long time for some of these to pay up. I mean, It also tells you how fickle the market is. One minute the market loves a stock, the next minute the market hates a stock.
Okay.
And there's no in-between position. They're out of favour. Sure, the numbers haven't been as good, but market's expectations were probably too high.
Well, here's my big call.
Yep. Are you buying? They're buying
I know
Vocus?
nothing about these companies, and I never have wanted to buy them, but they've been, Vocus in particular has been bagged and dumped so much. I reckon to the contrarian who's prepared to sit on the sidelines, I bet you this share price that we're seeing now will end up being a good one in the future. But you have to wait.
Yeah, I'm going to have a look at TPG or TPM's the code for Switch Daily tomorrow. I think there's a bit of value there. It's come off from 12 down to 7.
It's been judged guilty by association.
Judged guilty by association yesterday's fall. Look, one thing I do want to talk about, just want to talk about stocks.
Yeah.
Two things. A, we're still struggling to get through that 5,500, which has been a major barrier this year. You know, so we've got to acknowledge we haven't yet broken through the top end of the range. I thought yesterday banks did pretty well. They basically pulled the market or saved the market from going down. So you and I, we've been talking a lot on the program. We think banks are good value.
Yep.
I still think they're value.
Yeah. The top 20 stocks?
But, you know, they have had they're up 10%, you know, in the last couple of months. So just a little bit of...
Some profit taking.
Bit of profit taking, but, you know, they showed good underlying strength yesterday.
Okay.
And Medibank today, out with some bit more guidance. Got an investor day. Don't like the stock. Flat profit.
You don't seem mad on Medibank.
I'm not mad on Medibank, no.
Well, I'm Peter Switzer.
I'm Paul Rickard.
And we're mad about money.